I know when we go out, I mean, people obviously recognize me, but they also recognize you.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, can we take a picture with you guys?" I go, "Okay."
Yeah.
I go, "Okay." Now, me being with you, now they go, "Chazz was definitely in the mob." That's what they,
I
that's what
know.
they say.
I hear that.
Bullshit.
Chaz, I hear it all the time too now. I knew Chaz had connections.
I knew Chaz had connection. I saw him with Michael Franzese, and I go, "No." I've always said that from day one. I said, "Look, I was never arrested. I've never been in the mafia. Never even close." All right, hi, this is Chazz Palminteri,
Wise, and I'm Michael Franzese.
a wise guy. So, Michael, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, Chaz, it's been a while. First, I want to tell everybody, it's been a while since we've been together, and
Right.
you've been busy. I've been busy. I've been in London for a week and a half and just traveling all over the country. But we're back. We're not going anywhere, people. We're back.
We're back. That's right. Michael, I wanted to talk to you about something. I've been watching these, I get on, I like to see what anybody else is doing. And I see a lot of legitimate, I mean, there's a few legitimate, real great podcasts by some guys like yourself that are really made guys. Obviously, Sammy the Bull, who's real, the real deal, you. But then I've been noticing, I see all these like podcasts pop up of all these like, and again, you know me, I'm not wise guy. I play wise guys. But to me, they're fake wise guys. I mean, fake. I mean, a made guy is a made guy. A fake guy, or we used to call them disappointed wise guys. You know what I mean? Who really never, they're on the fringes, and now they're getting these podcasts, and it's giving them legitimacy, and they're coming off like they had a button or something. Do you find that?
Well, it's funny, Chaz, the genre on YouTube for, this genre, the mob stuff, it's growing, and there are a lot of guys coming on now. Some guys, like you said, very legit, and other guys are just talking about the other guys, and they say they're investigators or reporters, and
Right.
they're making their way on the channels by talking about some of the other guys, myself included. I mean, I've been the subject and not too flattering at times of many of these guys, but I mean, I get it. But Chaz, the genre is not that big. I mean, if you take myself out of it for a moment and even take Sammy out, because I think Sammy has a 500,000 followers. But if you take the two of us out, there might be another 10 guys on there. And maybe between all of them, all 10, they have 200 or 250,000 followers, which is not a lot.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so the genre is not really that big, but a lot of guys are trying to get into it.
Yeah. I guess. See, I don't like people who talk about they're investigating and they heard. Hearsay drives me crazy. Hearsay, hearsay, hearsay. Is it? Do you know for a fact? I mean, maybe this is a good question for me to ask you. Out of all the people on the internet who have podcasts talking about the mafia and Cosa Nostra, how many of them made? Is it just you and Sammy?
No, there was I don't know if he's still on, but a guy by the name of Joey Molino, who's a legit guy out of
Oh, he
Philadelphia.
was made. Yeah, Joey was
Yeah.
made. Yeah.
Who else? I think, there's some controversy about this. I don't know for a fact. There's a guy by the name of Larry Mazza, who I happen to meet. He came here to LA. I didn't know him, but he was a Columbo guy. And he says he was made. I have no reason to dispute that, but a lot of other people do say he wasn't really made.
Right.
I don't know, but like I said, nice guy. I met with him. He was close with Vic Arena. And then there's a guy by the name of Johnny Panisi, another guy
Yeah.
that's made for sure. So I think
So
it's
there are a few other guys who were made.
yeah, a few. And then there's a bunch that aren't that just talk about the guys that are made.
Now, talk about the guys that are made. I mean, sometimes I wonder. I want to ask you these questions. What would the old timers think about things like this? They would go crazy, right?
They would frown on it. I mean, you couldn't still be in that life and be on YouTube or anywhere on social media.
No, no way.
No,
I,
you'd be in a lot of trouble. Myself
I mean,
included.
they might clip you, right?
Oh, absolutely, because you can't be talking about the life on social media. That's crazy. You'd be in a lot of trouble.
Do you really think? I'm interested because Joe Pistone is a friend of yours and a good friend of mine. Was he really like when he did that? What he did. I mean, he put a lot of guys away. Was he really in trouble to get killed after that happened? Well, in other words, the wise guys had to realize that if somebody kills him, if he dies somewhere, the heat on them will be incredible. So, were there still a contract on him, or they said no, we better wait?
Well, listen, during my time in that life, it was hands off for law enforcement. You never
Right.
hurt law enforcement anyway. Too much heat, they'd come down on you. I mean, so I don't believe that he was ever in trouble in that way. I mean, the only way he might
Right.
have been in trouble is if he was still undercover and he walked into a situation, and while he was undercover, somebody clipped him. They didn't know who he was. But
Oh, I see.
yeah, once it was over, no, I don't believe he was in trouble at all.
Yeah. So the rule was that while he's undercover, he can't kill anyone, obviously,
No, no.
and that's why they took him off. I think. Right.
I think, yeah, what happened, they were going to make him, they were going to straighten him out. And as a result of that, he had to clip somebody. And the FBI pulled it at that point and said, no, we
Right.
can't go that far, And during my time, there's only, and I think I've said this before, there's only one time when I ever remember a discussion about killing a prosecutor, and that was Rudy Giuliani. And that discussion came about from Carmine Persico, my former boss.
He wanted to whack him.
It was a discussion. It obviously didn't go any further, and I don't know how serious it was, but he really had it in for him. And I always said the other guy that I remember who was outside of our life that they were talking about was Geraldo Rivera. He was hated on the street, hated.
Why?
Just, a lot of things that he said about guys when he was a reporter, and the whole thing he did with Capone's, empty safe and all of that. They hated him.
Now he could have got clipped, really clipped,
He could have, yeah, he could have.
and somebody called it off.
I don't. Again, it was discussed. I don't know if it was ever serious or anybody got the
Did
contract.
you ever tell him that?
I did tell him that. I was on Hannity. It was me, him, and one other guy. I forget.
What did he say?
When we took a break, I told him. He turned white. I said that,
Really?
yeah, I said, Geraldo, there was only two guys that we ever talked about killing. One was Giuliani, the other was you. And he like turned white, and Hannity kind of laughed when I told him that. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, nobody.
Wow. You realize that if you guys, not you, but if your crew would have killed Giuliani, the heat would have been incredible.
It would have been, oh yeah, absolutely. They would have, law enforcement would have came down on everybody worse than they already did. I mean, they did anyway, but that would have been, forget it.
Yeah.
It was for those reasons, Chazz, that in Italy, they do things differently, as you know. They go after everybody in Italy.
And they don't. Yeah, they kill judges, cops, anybody.
Families, they don't care. But here, it's always, you don't touch law enforcement, you don't touch anybody's family, and stay away from drugs on a major level. So because of the heat that it would bring. And a lot of people dispute that. Oh, come on, Michael, you keep saying there was no a law against drugs. I was told straight out, if I dealt with drugs, I die. Straight out. And that was all 5 families thought that way. But I always say, were some guys doing it on the sneak? Yes, because we're street guys. So guys were doing it, not me. I hate anything to do with drugs. But we were not major drug dealers, and we were not allowed to deal with drugs. And unfortunately, I knew guys that got killed because of it. If you were on the wrong side of that, you're going to be in trouble. And I know guys that were in trouble.
Yeah. Well, what do you call it? Angelo Ruggiero? I think.
Angelo, I mean, look, Gotti's crew. One of the reasons Castellano was upset because he knew the crew was dealing with drugs. I'm not saying John was. I don't know that, but his crew, a couple of guys were, and John was responsible for that in Castellano's eyes.
So that's why they put a contract on John, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that was a story on the street,
That was the story, yeah. And then
Yeah.
John just struck first, yeah.
Exactly.
But do you find that when people meet you, what is their first impression of you? Are they afraid of you, Michael, when they first meet you, or
You're talking about now or back then?
now?
No, I mean, Chazz, I got to tell you, since, and this is the truth, since I got on YouTube and my
Yeah.
YouTube channel, pretty well exploded over 1 million, I get noticed in so many places. I mean, it's mostly.
I know, I've been out with you.
Yeah, and it's and everybody's nice. Hey, could I take a photo with you? And they talk and they compliment your channel. And so I haven't had any blowback from really anybody. Now, of course, I operate a little bit differently now than I did, 25 years ago. So I guess I'm more approachable, but
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I noticed that. I know when we go out, I mean, people obviously recognize me, but they also recognize you.
yeah,
And they go, "Oh, can we take a picture with you guys?" I go, "Okay."
yeah.
I go, "Okay." Now, me being with you, now they go, Chazz was definitely in the mob. That's what they,
I
that's what
know.
they say.
I hear that.
Bullshit.
Chaz, I hear it all the time too now. I knew Chaz had connections.
I knew Chaz had connection. I saw him with Michael Franzese, and I go, no, no. And you know what's funny about this? The more I deny it, the more
Yeah,
they keep thinking it. But I gotta tell the truth.
absolutely.
I've always said that from day one. I said, look, I was never arrested. I've never been in the mafia. I'm never even close. You know, could I have been if I wanted to? Yes, but I never did. I never did. And it's so funny when I hear that. You know, but
Chaz, guys say to me, come on, how long do you really know Chaz? I said, "It's a couple of years. I said, no, come on, you guys go way back. I said, no, we
you
don't.
guys used to run in the street together. I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I
No,
hear that.
no,
I hear that.
no, I did not. you know, I want to tell the truth. I mean, so did you have a good time in London?
It was real. I tell you, I love the United Kingdom and London. People are just great. We did a lot of media for my upcoming tour, so they had me going crazy. I was doing two or three a day for some big podcasts. They all went well,
Wow.
and we ended up with Pierce Morgan. He was the one that we did the last night, and he's got he roughs people up a little bit, but he was really nice with me. I think they're going to air it, today or tomorrow, something like that. But it was great. I love that city, Chaz. If you as you know, when you go to London, you see where New York came from. New York was born out of London,
Yes.
no doubt.
Yeah, and the thing I love about London is very civilized.
Yes,
It really is. People are very nice. I like it there very much. I
they're
haven't
so
been there in a few
proper.
years.
They're so
What's that?
proper. They're
Very
courteous.
proper, very proper, very nice. You know, it's a funny thing about wise guys when I think about that. And people always say to me, why are wise guys so, a lot of wise guys, the bosses usually are very so nice. And I go, well, the reason why they're so nice is they want to justify what they're going to do to you if you don't pay up. And that, and that makes them feel better. I tried. I asked them. I told him straight up. Now be a nice guy and pay up, and he still didn't want to pay. And I did what I had to do. And people laugh about that. I go, yes, that's why they're so very nice because what's about to happen is not going to be pretty. You know, I mean, the old timers, Michael, they would keep really. They would never draw any attention to them, right?
No.
The old timers.
No, they didn't. Listen, you look at Carlo Gambino. The guy lasted as a boss under the biggest family really in New York, biggest family in the country, for 20 years. I think he may have did 2, 3 months, 6 months in jail his whole life. And when he died at home peacefully, after a 20-year reign. And again, he ruled with an iron fist, but quietly, undercover. And he had investigations on him all the time. But you never really heard much about him. I mean,
Did he
early
have the
on,
RICO Act? Did he
what's
have the
that?
RICO Act in his? Did
No,
he have the RICO? Oh, see now, yeah, see that's
yeah, they
different.
had no RICO Act then. It might have been different if they had RICO then, because then the guys underneath them become informants, and then you're in trouble. But him. I mean, even I gotta say, Persico, they didn't want the attention. The two guys that I don't know if they looked for attention, but obviously it was John Gotti. He got a lot, just the way he carried
Yes,
himself, and then Joe Colombo. But Joey, he really had a purpose with that league. He was really trying to do the right thing with that league, and he just got a lot of attention. But
right.
and look at how it ended up for the both of them. Not good.
Now, Michael, you're a little after The Godfather, but was that stuff true when I watched that movie, The Offer? Excuse me, The Offer. Did you see the movie, The Offer?
I did. I watched it. I thought it was
Yeah.
great.
Now, I thought it was great. I loved it. Was that true about the whole thing with Joe Colombo and all that? And that
Well, Chaz, that was my era. I was there through that whole thing.
oh, so you were there? Oh, I thought it was
Absolutely.
after.
Yeah, and I was close with Joey back then and his family. I mean, a lot of it was true. Joe Colombo did have control. He did look at the script. He did knock the word mafia out of there. He did stop the production at one point in time. He called the unions to stop the production. Al Ruddy did come down to the Park Sheridan Hotel.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All true. All true. And they did have a screening, before the movie went out. They had a screening for a lot of the guys on the street that time. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, Joey had a lot of control over that. And
Was Colombo a good boss?
I thought so. I mean, I loved the way he carried himself. And I mean, I had a lot of, involvement with him because my father had just gone away and Joey was a boss and he kind of took
Right.
me under his wing, and his sons, Anthony and Joey Jr., I was close with them, and now Chris, close with him. Just a good family, and I like Joey very much. I thought he would have led the family in the right direction.
Now, Michael, is a lot of people say these things, and I don't know if they're true. Is the life of the mafia? Is it still there? It's still there, right?
Absolutely, yes.
But it's kind of like it's not. Are they as strong as they once were? No.
No, no. Listen, I always say this, Chaz. The golden era of my former life was from the late 40s, early 50s through the mid 80s when the RICO Act came and destroyed everybody. That's when we had real control, not only in New York and Chicago and Kansas and Tampa and New Orleans, obviously, but really in the country. And, that's when we had it going on. We controlled all the unions. You control the unions in America, you control the country to a great degree because you
Right.
got votes and you got money, and politicians want votes and money, to support them. So we had it all. But now it seems that a lot of that was taken away. But the guys have gotten smarter. They've gone undercover. There was when I was during that life, Chaz. You know this. You remember, I'm sure. There wasn't a day or two that went by. New York Post, New York Times, New York Daily News. There wasn't a story about us guys every
Yes.
day, every other day. Now I read the New York Post every morning. Maybe every 6 months there's a story about somebody. You don't hear about it anymore.
You don't hear about it anymore. But I mean, it's not. Is it still the same in Manhattan where you can't get windows, you can't do that, you got to go through? No,
No,
it's all changed.
no,
I remember where every private sanitation carding company was all wise guys.
absolutely. We had the association. It wasn't a union, but it was the association. If you weren't part of that association, you're in trouble. And
You
you
don't get your
lose.
garbage picked up.
Yeah, no, you're in trouble.
That's and they came in and they destroyed all that.
Everything. I said this
Wow.
many times. A lot of people want to put the blame on John Gotti for taking the mob life down. It wasn't Gotti. It was Rico. 100% Rico.
Rico, yeah. Once that, I don't know who thought of it. I forgot the guy's name.
Name was DeBakey.
The Bakey, that's it.
Robert DeBakey. That thing was on the books for 10 years before Giuliani was the one who said, aha, this is a real tool I can use. And then he goes out, here's the story. He said, okay, I can use this law. Nobody had used it. They didn't understand it. And then he goes out to see Joe Bonanno after Joe Bonanno wrote his book. I forget the name, something Thy Father. I forget. And in that book, Giuliani says that Bonanno laid out the whole case for him to go after the commission. He laid it out in the book, and that's what happened. He jumped on it.
I mean, weren't they upset with Joe Bonanno for writing that book?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they were very upset with him. Look, what I was always told Bonanno after he made that move, because he was a boss, they gave him the respect of they saying get out of town or they were going to kill him, and that's when he went out to Arizona. But he was abandoned by everybody in New York. Yeah, it was a
When he
bad
wrote the
word
book.
on him. Yeah,
I mean, he laid out the whole case for him. Wow.
yeah, laid out the whole case in the book.
Did Joe Bonanno go to jail for that?
No, no, he
Oh, he did.
when he after he went out to Arizona, I don't think he ever went to jail. His son Bill Bonanno did. I met him in prison, but
Yeah.
Joe Bonanno never did.
Wow. That's just, it's funny. People always say, oh, I love when you and Michael talk. I get all these comments. They go, oh, I could listen to you guys talk forever. And I always go, well, we just talk how it is. You know what I mean?
Well, Chaz, this is how I feel. I have an artist. I'm going to show you this. You're gonna flip out over it. He made these two canvases, one that you're in with all the guys that played mob guys. You,
Hmm.
Bob De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, everyone. I'm going to bring it to you as a gift, right? You're going to love it.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thanks.
The other one, he comes to me. This guy's a tremendous artist, and he says, Mike, I want to do something special about, the mob guys. He says, what would you do? I said, well, there's about 50 very prominent guys in that life. And it's history. I mean, it's in the media, movies, books, television
Right.
shows, everything. I said, let me give you the 50 guys and you go out and create whatever you think you want to create. So he created this canvas that's second to none, right? It's unbelievable. I'm going to bring one to you too.
So
You,
50 made guys. 50 made guys.
there's actually 51 because he threw me in there. I didn't ask him to, but he put
Right.
me in.
Wow.
Yeah, 50 guys that were part of history, all the biggest names, right, starting from Al Capone and Mazzaria and Magadino and all of them, all the way up to Gotti and the latest guys, right? And he
Right.
makes this beautiful canvas. So I have it as a backdrop. We're going to start to be offering it, but I have it as a backdrop. And some people are saying, Michael, why are you glorifying these guys? And I'm saying, wait a second. I never glorified my former life. I left the life. I've always said it's a very destructive life to families. My
Right.
family was destroyed. My father, 40 years in prison, the whole bit. I've been through it. I said, but you can't deny that it's part of history. It's a huge history in the United States. I said, remember this, the CIA came to Cosa Nostra 3 times. That's how powerful a presence we were. They came once to assassinate Castro in Cuba. They came another time and to help the World War II effort. They came to Luciano to help them in Sicily and to help them at the docks here in the United States. These are facts. And I'm telling you this, Chazz, and I will take this to my grave, and I believe one day it'll come out. They were part of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. No question in my
Yeah.
mind. I've heard
No
this my
kidding,
whole
really.
life, my whole life. And I think there's enough evidence there. And I always say this, if those classified documents are ever released that they've been holding for all of these years, it's going to show that it was a mob related hit. There's no question. I heard it from all the main guys throughout my whole life. So
Um,
you can't deny it was a major presence. And so I'm not honoring these guys. It's just, listen, there's movies, there's books, there's YouTube, there's everything. We're just offering it up because there's a lot of people that are interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that. People go, well, you're always for Italian American rights, but then you play wise guys. I go, yeah, so I'm an actor. I'm a writer. This is what I do. You can't talk about the light unless you talk about the dark. You can talk about the good side of wise guys or the bad side. The wise guys are no different than cowboys were. It's cowboys. You know,
Absolutely.
bad guys, good guys. I'm talking about the good guys and the sheriff. What's the big deal? I'm not glorifying anybody.
No.
You know, so I don't believe in that. I hate when they say that to me.
And Chaz,
You
what's
know,
the biggest, if you look, the biggest genre on television is crime. The biggest
yeah,
genre in the movies, it's crime. Everybody's interested in crime of all kinds. So you're not glorifying it when you show, you know, movies or
right,
TV stuff about crime. It's just, it is what it is. It's reality.
yeah. I mean, I don't like when there's a movie just with gratuitous killing and there's not a point to it. I mean, I could understand people. Some people like that. I don't like it. I like, you know, I like. There's got to be a point to the violence. You know.
Yeah, you know what, Chaz? I went to see the Whitey Bulger movie. What the heck was it called? With Johnny Depp. It was a
Oh,
big movie.
Black Mask. Black
Yeah, Black
Mask.
Black Mass. Now, I was on the street for 20 years. I walked out of that theater and I said, this movie is so dark. There was no redeeming quality of anybody,
Yeah.
entire movie. And it kind of turned me off too. I said, you can't root for anybody. There's nobody that you like. Not one person in
Right.
that movie that I like. I don't know. It was just my feeling. So I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to
No,
see,
if
I
it's
want to
if
see
it's
that.
too dark, then it's like some movies. I just go, all right, get me out of here. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's just too dark. So I absolutely know what you're saying. But Michael, it's great to just chat with you about the life because I'm like a little kid too. You know, no matter what anybody says, I didn't run in the streets with you. I don't care what they say. As soon as people saw me, you and I going out, they said, I know it. I know. And I'm just like, oh man, forget it. There was another question I wanted to ask you. Yeah, when you were in that life, I have one more question. When you were in that life, when you walked into a place, it's kind of intoxicating when they know who you are, isn't it? When they,
Absolutely. I mean, listen, it's a good feeling. There's no question about it. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, fortunately, I still in some places have the same thing. It's just nice when people recognize you and they treat you well. I'm not going to lie about
right,
that. I mean, you
right,
experience that all the time, me for a different reason. But
right,
yeah, I mean, look. But you know what, Chaz? You know what I found out? I have to say this. My father always taught me something. He was very wise in many ways. You know what he said to me? He said to me, Michael, remember this in your life. Always take care of the little people. Now, when he said little people, he didn't mean it to be demeaning. It was just his way of saying things. And I said, well, what do you mean, Dad? He said, the valet parker, tip him well, shake his
Yeah,
hand,
he's right.
make him feel good. The waiter, the waitress, you know, the
Yeah,
maitre d'. He said, those are the people that make you strong. He said, in our life, it's not the people on top. The people on top are going to look to cut your legs out. He said, it's the people underneath you and the people in the community that make you strong. And I noticed that about him. You know, I'll tell you a story. We were in the Copa one night and I was young. You know, I used to go to the Copa with my dad all the time. We seen everybody there, as you know. And I watched the way Sherman treated my dad. And everybody in that place loved my dad. And I'm not going to mention names, but I saw the wise guys come in that were even higher than my father, and they weren't treated the same way. But I watched the way my father treated them. He was so courteous to them. He was in a way, it was humble. I mean, you still knew who he was, but he had a humility
yeah,
about him, you know?
right.
It was very attractive, very
Yeah,
attractive.
he
I
knew your
said,
father knew who he was.
yeah,
You know, he
yes.
did.
And it always stuck in my mind. So I tried to always behave that way, and it's paid off for me.
Yeah, me too. I always take care of everybody because sometimes I'll meet somebody. Go, hey, I waited on you 7 years ago.
Yeah,
You had the chicken parmesan with the broccoli, and I go, you remember what I? They go, oh yeah, and you tipped me really nice. I go, okay, and I
yeah.
and I know I always see that happening. Well, Michael, listen, this has been great talking to you, and anybody has any questions about anything we talk about the life, about Michael, about myself, please, send them in, and we love to answer your questions. So again, this is Chazz Palminteri,
Wise, and I'm Michael Franzese,
the wise guy.
and we'll see you next time. Take
See you
care.
next time.